Alright, so in the previous lecture we created a simple graph, okay, and we learned about a few things, reading from a file and understanding how we can read off data and create a simple graph. So in the following few lectures, we're going to be learning how to create multiple graphs, how to color our graphs, and basically the concept of subplots, okay? So let's get started. First thing first, right now what's happening is we're just plotting some points and we're showing those points. However, what we can do is we can create something called a figure. And what that figure will have is multiple plots. You can have maybe 3 plots, 4 plots. You can have whatever you can do whatever you want, except you do it inside of a figure. Alright? So let's go ahead and create a figure and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Currently we have these two lines, import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and we have plt.show. So these are the two basic lines that we require currently. Let's get started. So what I want you to type is fig is equal to plt.figure, okay? And what this will do is basically it'll initialize this figure that we see over here. This was some data that I was testing out, so let this be. But this figure one that you see, that's what we're creating, okay? Now, the next thing is we're going to be creating a rectangle, okay? These next two lines basically change the color of the background. So currently, as you see this light gray color at the back, this is what you can change using the following code. So rect is equal to fig.patch, okay? And then you can say rect.set face color as any color you want it to be. You know, you can do maybe red, you can do green, you can do blue. I am going to do, let's do green, okay? So, whoops, I had an extra apostrophe there. Alright, so these first two lines, this line over here creates a figure. The next two lines help us change the background color. Alright, so that's one thing that we're doing. Now, we want to change this main color, we want to get this graph. How do we do that? So what you want to do is you want to create something, any variable name. I'm going to call mine as graph1. And you say this is equal to fig.add subplot, okay? And basically what a subplot is it's another graph on your figure. So you can have as many graphs as you want, but you just have to keep on adding those subplots, those graphs, okay? So we have add subplot, and then it just takes in some parameters. So the first two parameters it takes in is the dimension of your figure, okay? Suppose I'm creating just one graph. The way I do it is 1, 1, where this first one stands for the height and the second one stands for the width. In case I did 2, 1, this figure would then become 2 graphs, or it'll give me space for 2 graphs, okay? So by specifying 2, 1, you're saying that it's a 2 by 1 dimension. So 2 graphs in height and 1 graph in width. Since we're only creating 1 graph, let's go ahead and do 1, 1. Then the third parameter is basically saying, hey, what graph are we talking about? Is it the first graph? Is it the second graph? Is it the third graph? Because right now, our module doesn't know which graph we're talking about. So you have to specify, hey, this is our first graph, all right? Now, the next parameter, and then there are actually several parameters, but one parameter that we're going to be talking about is the access background, okay? So right now, you see this dark gray color. That you can set via the access background parameter. So basically just type in access background and set this equal to any color you want. Since we did green over here, let's try doing, let's do black. Yeah, let's do black. Black. Okay. And last but not least, we have to add plot. Okay. So you're going to say graph1 dot plot is equal to, or actually no equal to there. So graph1.plot, and then in brackets specify the two arrays. So I'm going to go ahead and create my x and y arrays over here. So in the previous lecture, you must have seen that the graph that we created was actually really weird looking. And later on, I realized that it's because of the way we added our points. So in the previous lecture, I done something like 3, 7, 5, 8. And that was wrong on my part because what the graph did is it then created a point at 3, then went forward, then went backward, and then it went forward again. So it got a bit confused as to what's happening. So quick tip guys, whenever you're creating a graph, make sure your points are in order. So if you have 3, next one should be greater than it, the next one should be greater than it, and the next one after that, it should be in an increasing order, okay? So I'm gonna do 3, 7, 8, and 12. And for my y, I'm gonna do 5, 13. So the y doesn't really matter. You can do y whatever you want. So 2 and 8, but the x values do matter. Okay, that's x and that's y, and let's go ahead and add these two parameters, x comma y. So last but not least, take a look at this graph. What's different? We've changed the background. We've changed a light background over here, except these line colors. How do we change these line colors? Well, to do that, that's another parameter over here. All you have to specify is the color. So what color do you want this line to be? Since we've done green and black, let's do a color that pops up on black, which is gonna be red. And then what you can do is you can specify how wide the line is. Right now, this line is pretty wide. So what you can do is something like line width is equal to, I believe the starting one is either 1 or 2. I'm not completely sure. Let's go ahead and try out 4. Okay, so 4.0, save this, F5, and let's see what happens. Okay, my Python launcher has now appeared. Wow, that's actually a pretty cool graph. I mean, if you think about it, you know, this is pretty neat. So what happened is we changed the background. So the green is in correlation to this patch, okay? We said rectangle is equal to fig.patch. It doesn't have to be rect. You could have done background. You could have done anything you want. But fig.patch basically allows you to change this back color over here. Then what we did is we set the face color to green. We added a subplot. So this graph that you see over here is a subplot, okay? This graph, let me try to minimize this for you guys, okay? So this graph that you see is called a subplot. We assigned it a 1 by 1 dimension, meaning that there's only gonna be one graph. We assigned it that this is the first graph, so that's a third parameter over here. And then we made the axis background equal to black. So that's why our background is now black. Then we plotted our points, so x and y. We made the line red, and we made the line width to be 4.0, so we changed up the width. Awesome job, guys. In this lecture, we basically talked about some functions or some coloring options that you have with your figure. Now, in the next lecture, we'll continue along with coloring, and I'll tell you how to change the labels, the ticks. By ticks, I mean, you know, the 4, 5, 6, the small pointers in front of the numbers. I'll show you how to change those colors as well. So see you in the next lecture.